Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you, Megan, and happy 4th of July, everyone. Welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on Pittsburgh CW, 412-575-2600. Hope you enjoyed the Riverhounds game. If you watched it earlier tonight, televised right here on this station as they won a game again. It's their longest win streak since 2013, 1-0 over Bethlehem Steel. So they continue to do well. Canardo Forbes with the only goal. We'll talk about that as we go along. But the big story tonight was the Pirates, who tried to make it a 4-game sweep over the Chicago Cubs. And that hasn't happened in a Pittsburgh-Chicago series for quite some time. The Pirates, I believe, last time they swept a 4-game series against the Cubs, you have to go all the way back to 1983. It didn't happen anyway because the Cubs came out, got some offense. Jordan Lyles has not been good recently. He wasn't again today. 8 hits in a row to start the game for the Cubs, and not in a row in succession, but their first 8 hits were all extra base hits, including 3 home runs, 4 doubles, and a triple. And then it was a matter of just running out the string. 11-3, they win that game. But that was even really not even the big story. The big story was Joe Maddon getting ejected for trying to go after, even though I think he was just putting up a front, going after Clint Hurdle. Paul Zeiss of 93.7 The Fan and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is here. So when I first saw that, Paul, I said to myself, all right, he's getting into it with Joe West. That's not unusual. Joe West gives him a hook. He's out of here. That's not unusual. And then all of a sudden he goes out and he tries to get by Joe West, which is an assignment in it to itself. And he couldn't do that. He was trying to get the Hurdle, of all things, because he doesn't like the way the Cubs or the Pirates pitch inside. He thinks they've crossed the line.
Well, I mean, I think if it was Hurdle doing that, we would all be sitting here talking about how, admirable it is that he's got his players back and all that other stuff. And the bottom line is, that Joe Maddon, the Cubs aren't playing well right now. They're struggling a little bit. The general manager came out today, I think it was, or yesterday, and basically said, hey, if this doesn't turn around, we're going to blow the thing up. And that probably means Maddon's job. So if you ask me, that was all basically just one of those shows to try and get a spark and try and get his team fired up.
And he did.
I think that's what it seemed like. It didn't even seem like it. I mean, it seemed like he was looking for something to, go out and go crazy and get thrown out of the game for. To me, I just think it's a manager that's desperate.
Could very well be, because they're not playing very well, especially on the road. However, he was in that post-game press conference and also said this, that he cannot, given how the Pirates pitch inside, and he'd take exception to it, that he cannot wait till they come to Chicago next weekend, which to me has somewhat of a veiled threat in there. Like, okay, you want to play that way? Wait till you get to Chicago. We'll see what happens, though, when the Pirates go there.
How stupid is he, though?
Because now all the eyes are going to be on what Joe Maddon
does. And the bottom line is, if one of his pitchers, the ball slips and it hits somebody, they're probably going to throw him out of the game even if it was an accident. Because of that, right?
And if they don't, Clint Hurdle will go ballistic because they says you can't give him a warning and you warn us either. So could get very heated next weekend in Chicago. But I was surprised Clay Holmes went in and hit David Bodie right in the head. I mean, that was a dangerous play.
It was. I think part of that was that Clay Holmes is just bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. He had pitched a couple of nice innings yesterday and all. The narrative on this team is so up and down among people. It's like, listen, Clay Holmes is who he is. If you're going to continue to run him out there, you're going to get what you got today. Jordan Lyles is what he is.
Dovydas Neverauskas.
Stephen Brault is,
Michael Feliz,
eventually he is going to be what he is. I mean, there's some guys they have that now the other part of it is you look at what they do offensively, and boy, what I like about the offense, there's not an automatic easy out in their lineup, and they all drive. Even the guys that don't hit over 300, which it seems like there's only about 2 of them in there, those guys, everyone in that lineup battles in terms of they make the pitcher throw a lot of pitches or they fight, you know what I mean? And even if they strike out, sometimes it seems like there's 8 or 9 pitches. They foul 3, They do their job, every single one of them, man. If you're a pitcher, it's got to be exhausting to face that, which is why, to me, I thought Quintana was really good today. I mean, he is what he is. He's a middle-of-the-rotation guy who does what he does. But the fact that he got through 7 innings,
and they needed it,
and he was grinding, and he got enough key outs. He's a guy that I don't think he has what he used to have in terms of his stuff. But boy, that guy knows how to pitch and get guys out.
we're going to take a break here. We're up against it. Just want to remind you, call us with your calls at 412-575-2600. The Reds also won again. The biggest story, aside from the Pirate hitting, is Cincinnati's pitching. Who would have thought they'd be this good? We'll talk about that. And now all of these teams are separated by just 3.5 games. That's coming up next. Your calls are on the way right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, celebrating 25 years as Pittsburgh's #1 home exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters, where honesty and integrity still matter.